G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy. We are recapping round 21 as we charge home in the final month of AFL Fantasy. Let's go!
Hodges done it from nowhere. Hoisted the goal from inside the 30. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on X at Ball Boys Fantasy. And we are recording on a Sunday evening whilst the final game is still going on.
We're going early.
We're going early.
It's not like me to go early. Maybe, I don't know about yourself, but this is...
from time to time. I'm here with my co-host, Luke Rogerson, who we're both in our Content Creators Cup matchup live as we speak.
Yep.
Waited with bated breath to see the results because it's come down to this last game. I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable than you potentially are.
Yeah, talk us through your situation. What's going on?
So I am up against Destroy, Roy of the Traders, and this game is basically battling down between Rowan Marshall and who is his play? Josh Dunkley. So as it stands right now, Rowan Marshall 84 to Dunkley's. What is he on? 41. So that's looking positive for me. I think I came into the matchup with a bit of a lead as well. So hopefully disaster doesn't strike, but yours is a bit more, there's a few more moving pieces.
Mine's still close, but honestly, it could go either way. So I've got Jep, and going into the last game, he had Rowan Marshall and what appeared on my app to be Jack Steele. So I was this is it. I was rooting against Rowan Marshall and Jack Steele, and it worked out that I was about 230 points in front, so I needed those two to combine for less.
Yep.
But when that last game trickled over, turns out he's traded Jack Steele to Dunkley, which is what I'm assuming is happening. And based on the scoring right now, Jeppa would not be impressed.
I mean, Marshall, you've got to be concerned a little bit about that. So,
well, the other element to this is we both VC'd Treloar, and then I'm kind of watching leading up to this game. He then had the C on Zorko. I thought, I might just cover Zorko off.
Yeah, in case he goes big.
In case Zorko goes
Saints.
Bananas. So now we've both got the C on Zorko, so that's kind of out of the matchup. It's just literally Marshall and Dunkley chasing at the moment.
233 points, was it?
Yeah. Well, just right now, it's just over 100 points with, a quarter and a bit to play. And bloody Zorko's just stopped. The thing that'll piss me off is if Zorko stops, he gets me. And had I kept the VC on Treloar.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about other stuff than that. But we'll be writing that.
We'll live check over and see how you go, because this is high stakes stuff over here.
It's close.
So yeah, this is what this time of the year is all about. Just these one-on-one sort of matchups it comes down to. Very interesting. So we don't have our live scores or round ranks and things like that. For my ranking, I'm sitting 5th overall right now, although with Dunkley, hopefully if he keeps struggling, but I do expect to drop as the game goes on because I don't have really any uniques playing in this one. Let's start Camel and Sponge. Do you want to go straight into that?
Let me bloody get it up on the screen, eh?
Let's go.
Let's go positive. Let's go negative first,
Negative.
should I say? Get
All
the Camel. Positive song bar.
All right, now this man, Jai Simpkin, is the Camel of the Week for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
Because the Camel is not always about the worst score. He scored 80. It's whatever. It's passable just.
Yeah.
But the reason he gets the Camel of the Week for a specific incident on the line of the boundary where the substitutions happen and things like that, he gets a free kick. Now, what you want to see from your fantasy players is, give me that ball, I'm going to kick it straight away. Yeah. This man not only doesn't want the ball, he exits the ground and takes the sub, goes in and does his interchange, and then tries to get the other guy on to take the kick for him.
The field umpire had to literally reverse the sub.
Yeah, come back on.
There was so much confusion because he was going, oh, can I come on? He's not off yet. And the field umpire, no, you get back on the field. So that's Camelish behaviour.
If you're running away from a free kick, That is like the camelest of camel.
Can you imagine
actions.
if your matchup came down to that, or God forbid, a hat or a car came down to that, and you're watching your player run away from the football, getting off the field? That's just gross. So, Jai Simpkin, you had a decent game, but
it wasn't even. I don't think he was even swapping with someone who's like a lethal kick or anything like that. It was just some other
want to
player.
rest.
Yeah,
give me a spell. That's too. We want selfish players.
Don't give me those stats. I don't want a bar of it. But this man who gets the sponge of the week, he would never be caught doing something like that.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
You're going to have to do this one, Luke, because I don't think I can actually physically say his name.
Well, it's the Ex-Meister. It's Tristan Sherry, and we saw his biggest score of the season.
The only score he's gone over 130.
Well, this is it. He went massive, and then the frustrating thing is that Nank was back, and so I thought, well, it's not going to be quite as juicy as the previous week's matchup. But not only was this guy doing his hit-out thing, but he was doing his tackling thing as well. And at one point, you did. You threw the phone. Because
I did.
There were players running into his arms.
They literally just could not do anything.
It was like a fucking scene out of the fucking Sound of Music or something, just bloody gallivanting into his arms and just said, thank you, +4, +4, +4, +4.
He had 0 tackles in the first quarter. He was on 23 points. Bullshit mark at the end there as well. The second quarter, he had 7 tackles in the one quarter and just 50 points, bang,
He's just like a hungry hippo. He's just there, stepping into a web. Bang.
It actually just kills me, man. And a lot of people, and this is the wildest thing to me, a lot of people near my ranks had the 116, but took it on and went with Tristan Sherry. There's a lot of captaincies up in the top 100 and
All
the top 10.
power to him.
Great call,
yeah.
But massive back-to-back weeks for the man who, I will not say his name, but the title of our last podcast, which I forgot to plug as a joke on the actual podcast, was... A lot of people say, X-Gon give it to you. X-Gon gave it to me twice in a row.
I've never heard that in my life. What is that?
You know the song?
No.
X-Gon give it... Oh, we've got to get this song, man.
Why don't you sing a few more bars?
Nah, I can't. It'll embarrass me. X-Gon give it to you. I don't know. It's a good song. You listen it up.
Never heard of it.
You're not a hip-hop man, though, are you?
Not really, mate. I'm pretty white.
You're lame, yeah. All right, let's move on. But yeah, X-Gon gave it to me twice.
We'll go back a little bit in the run sheet and shout out the Content Creators Cup, because obviously we're riding it hard, so I'll check my scores in a second. But the Content Creators Cup, of course, brought to you there by Infinite Wealth. Make smarter financial decisions. And if you haven't yet, hopefully you already have, but if you haven't yet, get over to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim a bit of a gift from Guesty there, $3,000 worth of value for taking that Make Smarter Financial Decisions course.
Absolutely. Just quick score check. Dunkley, still on 41.
That helps. Has Zorko pulled his finger out? No,
Zorko has not. No.
That is disgusting.
And I went to Twitter as well today to ask, should I take the 116 or should I go with Zorko, who was my number 3 big boy? It was a very close poll.
Okay.
We had, I think it was 900 votes, something like that. It was like 52% said go Zorko, 48% said take the 116. I completely ignored the results of the poll and decided to go 116.
At this stage, it looks like a smart move.
Because I'm a bit of a pussy. But
it didn't look like a smart move midway through the second quarter because
he was on fire.
He was going well.
Yes.
So
very much slowed down. But
if I can just eke out a win in this matchup, I'll be happy. Right as it stands, if Jep had Steele and Marshall, it'd almost be game over.
Yeah.
Both on 87 just before three-quarter time. So it's going to be...
Fingers crossed. Let's go to the Bogs and Flogs, and we'll do 8 of the 9 games this round and talk about the Bogs and the worst on the ground.
And the winner of the Norm Smith medal.
You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment.
Best on ground, Friday night. Well, one of the Friday night games. Bulldogs versus Melbourne. Marcus Bontempelli gets the best on ground for me because this is what we talked about before. He's one of the most frustrating players because we know his best is the best.
It is.
And he decided to play his best on the Friday night. Just dominated the first half. What did he have? Something like 80 points in the first half.
Yeah.
And they kind of went to tag him a little bit in the second half, but it was too little too late. This man just went off. I'm a little annoyed at myself. My gut was kind of saying to maybe go a little bit of a different VC, and he was in my top 5 captains. Decided to go with my head instead of my gut, and but anyway, we're happy with Bontempelli showing and reminding us all that we have a really good player in there, and this is the reason why I don't think I'd ever be excited to trade him out because of the ceiling he has.
It's getting tougher, I think, to do the flogs because we all have a lot of decent players in our team now. So,
yes.
we got a bit of decent scoring. But Ed Richards was a guy that had promised a little bit in the previous few weeks, and I know that his name was getting thrown around. So if there was anyone that had Ed Richards, I think he went 70 or 80, something in that range.
81.
So it's not the worst thing in the world. But
Kicked 1 goal free, so it could have been a lot bigger.
Like I said, we've got a lot of good players now. It's getting harder to do the flogs.
We do. I do think that he is maybe just a little step away from those other premium defenders.
We had 2 games on the Friday night.
Yes, West Coast versus Gold Coast. Best on ground. Look, not the most fantasy relevant, but if you put up a 140, I'm going to give it to Jared Witts as the top scorer. 53 hit-outs, kick to goal, 21 disposals, has 6 marks and 4 tackles. So that's, I think, his, if not biggest performance of the year, very much up there. As the captain, he did his bit. But the flog for this is probably the rest of his team.
The Gold Coast, I don't know. I don't get it. How can you go... They've lost 1 game at home now, but how can you go the majority of the year at home undefeated and make the Gold Coast like a fortress and just not win on the road? So
they've lost to North on the road.
Lost to West Coast. They've lost to
West Coast on the road. Surely they're not going to lose to Richmond on the road. I think we've got them in the last round of the year.
Well, it could be huge, that game. But the reason why that annoys me a little bit as well is because we've got some Gold Coast players that we want scoring well. Flanders scored poorly in the end, and he
completely fell off a cliff in the second half, and he was my number 2 big boy.
The other bloke, too, that we cited a great run is Noah Anderson, but it's a great run if you dominate the teams that you shoot against, and that wasn't the case.
0 tackles against West Coast.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hayden
Young had like 12 tackles against West Coast last week.
Hayden Young's tough as, mate.
Give me 3 or 4. Like, come on, you're an inside mid. Anyway, yeah, very disappointing for most of Gold Coast's side. North Melbourne versus Richmond. We could have given it to the man who got the sponge, but I'm sick of saying his name. So, the best on ground on this one goes to Richmond for losing the must-lose game, securing that number 1 pick.
We don't like losing, mate. Doesn't matter.
We've been losing all season. What's one more loss? That's what I'm thinking. What's one more loss? What would this game have done if we won it? Woohoo! We beat, West Coast, or who played North Melbourne. Who cares? Who gives a shit? I want that number 1 pick. And I know maybe that's not the best attitude, but, just play the odds. If we gave that up and the number 1 pick was a good player like Harley Reid, I would have been really pissed.
I'm going to give the flog in a weird way. I'm going to give it to Nank. The reason being is if Nank just maybe decided just have another week off, I think there's no situation where we're not bypassing Treloar on Friday night and putting the VC onto the X-Meister.
Or I'm trading in Cherry.
So I'm going to go real inadvertent here and say, Nank, just have another week off. Let us put it on the X-Meister and then...
Or just do better against him. Fucking hell.
He had 120 himself, so it's a harsh one, but I'm warping that in my head to justify
Why
giving him
don't you
the flog.
Just tackle him a bit harder? Like, just go the Braden Pruce on him.
Give him a Prusey.
Just give him a Prusey. It didn't happen. Anyway, we'll move on to the next game.
Do you want to do the flog on this one?
Geelong versus Adelaide. Yeah, I'll take the flog. You go the bog.
Okay, Tom Stewart keeps getting it done. It wasn't as big as his previous weeks, but we'll take just sub 110 there.
Yeah, I think teams are going to start to cotton on to what he's doing. Obviously, the commentators have finally figured it out, and so usually the teams are not too far behind. So, but still getting it done. Flog, Brian fucking Myers. This guy sucks, man. This guy sucks.
It's a week-to-week proposition with you.
Yeah, no, he sucks. He full sucks. You know what? He hates playing in Geelong. He hates GMHBA.
He does, actually.
I think he needs the space. But anyway, he was around the ball a lot and just... not interested. In fact, in this game, semi-flog to Rory Laird goes to him because he was matched up on Brian Myers for a lot of this game. Stopped him from getting the ball a lot. And, you can't keep alternating 50s and 100s, man. Like, that's not going to get it done. I will say, I was semi-rooting for him to suck because I had him on my bench. And the reason I didn't pull the trigger on an English to Sherry trade is because I wanted to wait to see what Grind scored. So, at least I had... The trade was justified to get my F7 in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been for nothing, and I would have just missed that score, which is a weird way to think about it, but very selfish. But he sucks. And we'll talk about it in another segment later.
We will. Collingwood versus Carlton. Now, I'm probably the flog in this one because I didn't watch this one.
Game of the season.
I'm trying to get around the Olympics. I mean, every 4 years, but I probably should have known that this one was going to be a zinger.
This was an absolute huge game.
Who was our bog?
Best on ground, Nick Newman. And look, I feel a little bit dirty because he was my pod for a lot of the back half of this season.
Blind Freddie could have seen this run coming up, but...
And a lot of people jumped on. And look, we were nice enough. We told people it was coming up and say, hey, let's get on now. 145.
That's what I did with Andy Brayshaw too.
If you traded him in for this week, you got instant reward. And I just want to say that this man is actually a really good player. I've not watched Nick Newman a lot before. You know, when you have your fantasy players, you obviously watch them closer than anything.
Do you watch them closely? I barely pay him any mind.
Just a little bit. But this guy's actually gun. And I want to... His tackling... is up there with some of the best for that position. Like, I'd love to see, I don't know if this is a stat, but I'd love to see his, like, tackle percentage. Like, anytime he goes to tackle someone, it sticks. Like, there wouldn't be many missed tackles from Nick Newman. He's just, a good player. Took some of the kick-ins as well, maybe a few more than normal, and, hopefully he can reward us in the back half of the season, this last 3 weeks.
I'll cop the flog on that one for not watching, but the other game that was on at that point was not worth watching because Sydney and Port Adelaide, who was getting it done in that game?
Well, in this game here, Zach Butters, who a lot of us traded out a couple of weeks ago with a couple of tag threats, and he's gone basically 98 and then 128, so basically averaging 110 in that time since we traded him out, so he gets the best on ground. Could also give it to his teammate Rosie, who went 126.
Excuse me. Bless you.
So, Port Adelaide just... 100-plus point victory. I don't think many of us saw that one coming. So I guess the flog is pretty easy one here.
Yeah, Sydney are copping it. I think on Monday's show I sat here and talked about, maybe Sydney are putting in a hard training block or something. Maybe that's why they fought off.
Yeah, what are they doing? Just fucking hitting them with bricks?
I think they just running marathons every session.
Beat test every time.
They get fucking killed.
Man.
Yeah, Sydney, man. There's serious question marks there.
Question marks.
You can still see them turning it around like it's Sydney, but that's not good.
I don't know, man. That's a beating. This one was at Adelaide, but... I don't know what's going on here. Now, another thing that to keep in mind as well, a lot of people might have been looking to trade Nick Dacos with the fact that they had Carlton, Sydney in back-to-back matchups. Well, Sydney just let the Port Adelaide boys go 120 each. Like, could that come back to bite you is just an interesting question. So, very interesting to see what's going on with Sydney in these back final few weeks because... things are changing fast with how they're performing. Let's go to GWS versus Hawthorn. Best on ground, Lockie Whitfield. My spicy take was the fact that his ton run was going to end. He said, fuck you, I'm going to go 130 again. And I continually disrespect him. I don't think he's been in my top 5 captains much at all since the bye rounds. And I don't know. Why can't I put him in my top 5 captains, Luke? I'm an idiot.
It gets to a certain point where now you start to get superstitious that if you put him in there, he will.
I don't know, man.
Well, someone that you were probably a little bit more right on in this game was Tom Green and the fact that he was going to drop off the face of the earth. So an 80's not abhorrent. But
kicked a goal in that too.
Yeah, but it's not great. He was a pod in my matchup, so if I lose, I'll be putting a bit of blame on him.
So, he again, I didn't watch this game. I was out socialising, but I'm assuming he copped the Connor Nash tag, and last time he played them, he scored a 77, I want to say, so a little bit better, but still, they're a tough team, man.
I watched a little bit. I didn't watch super closely, but none of what I saw was an excuse of a tag. Maybe there's a little bit there, but you just got to be better.
Yeah, Essendon versus Freo. Huge game, huge win by Essendon. Big fumble by Freo in this one. Best on ground. I'm going to give it to Zach Merritt. Now, your spicy take was that he's going to show us that ceiling. Not quite the ceiling, but second highest scorer for the game. And again, for some of us might have been trading out. I think there's a few people at the top that trade out of Zach Merritt to someone like an Adam Treloar. He outscored Treloar by 2 points. Just played really well and did some really clutch things in the end of the game to ensure the victory for Essendon.
Nick Martin's going to be a player that we talk about a little bit later on as well, but I feel like there's just quite a few guys at the moment that are giving us subpar scores at the wrong time of year, but they're just not giving us quite subpar enough to make it a definitive trade. So I'm talking Nick Munn, I'm talking Jordan Clark, I'm talking even Dacos a little bit. I'm talking Hayden Young, he went all right today. But like these guys are guys where and it just makes the decision making really hard because on any given day, well, Hayden Young actually went all right today. But
so Nick Munn, 86, kicked 2 goals in that last quarter too, but back to back. Like they were very quick succession.
20 something at
22
halftime.
At halftime, I was licking my lips.
See, it just makes it really hard to call midweek when you're trading these guys. So
100%. All right, let's move on into some general strategy take. We might fly by the St Kilda Brisbane game, Bogs and Flogs, later when that one is over. We've got 17 minutes left in that final quarter. I want to talk just one real topic at the end here for strategy chat. It's the final 3 weeks of the season, and I was sort of battling with this today and pulling the trigger on when to play it safe. And when to risk it for the biscuit with things like trading out popular players, trading in pods, going a risky VC or taking on a VC score, which is you would normally accept. Do we have like a hard and fast kind of thing to say like when to do it, when to not? Like if you're in this situation or not? Like what do you think in terms of when to play it safe and when to, just put your balls on the table and go for it?
My kind of feeling is still, with the VCC debate, I still am going to err on the side of playing it safe because what you stand to gain versus what you stand to lose, especially with an injury, is still so glaring. Like
it is, yeah.
Especially if you've got something like a 116 on the board, like you're hoping that captain's at least going to go 140 almost to make it really, really worth it. Especially if your matchup
24 points, yeah.
Especially if your matchup has that player as well. The bigger they go, they're going to get some points too. So I still err on the side of safety, but then there are different situations within your matchup. Like I think Jepper and my matchup was a really good example there, where I sort of thought that he might be going C into Zorko because he didn't appear to have a loop that he could use.
Yeah.
So I just thought, hey, my best bet probably here is just to cover Zorko for a huge score, because that was what I thought was going to kind of be able to take the matchup away.
You've got the lead going to that last round. Minimise the variables in that last matchup so that you've got the better chance of winning.
Exactly. But let me throw the other one to you. And by no means is this matchup done and dusted. Like there's a lot of water to go under the bridge. But let me throw the one to you because like what Jeppa seems to have done is like a good case in point is he, I think, from what I could see, and if I stand corrected, apologies, Jeppa, but he's traded Steele to Dunkley in this last game. And seemingly, like, Steele has a tough matchup in Brisbane. Dunkley, St Kilda might be a slightly softer matchup. That seems like
he's scoring now.
He's coming back, so that's why I'm tentatively saying this. But like, if Steele does go on to outscore Dunkley, this is the kind of thing is like you can look at the matchups as much as you want, but sometimes it's just out of the box things and you get fucked this time of year.
Yeah, I think.
Touchwood, please don't beat me, Jeppa.
Touchwood,
please don't beat me, Jeppa.
Score check, Dunkley, 70 points.
Has he just gone up?
He's
more?
gone 70.
He was 65 last. So he's.
Since we last checked like 5 minutes ago, it's like 30 points.
Don't do me like this, Doug.
Marshall hasn't put on that many since then, but I want to use this analogy because this has been going around in my head. Fantasy, when you're talking about rankings, like we're going up against 50 or 60,000 like serious coaches, right? Yep. There's 150,000 people. A lot of people may drop, but there's probably at this stage more people that play it seriously than ever. 50 to 60,000 people's probably the borderline. So huge like field. I kind of compare it to like the World Series of poker in a way where you've got so many players playing. If you play the straight bat and you just go, okay, I'm gonna do the smart thing and play the odds, play the numbers, I think you're gonna go very well. I think you're gonna play and get a decent kind of ranking. I don't think you're gonna win it though. I don't think doing that the entire way is gonna win you the car. I do think it can get you a hat, because a lot of the times people will kind of fall over their own feet.
We kind of had this discussion earlier in the year as well, and I definitely see the analogy as well because statistically people will say, oh well, if you play the numbers all the time, that gives you statistically the best chance of doing that, and they're right they're definitely right. But like you said, you get to the point where you're ranked 6, but you're probably just like a bit too far off the car. You need to do something here.
You need to do something. You need to differentiate yourself, and you've got to pick your moments to go. is this the calculated risk that I can take? So for me, my calculated risk was getting off someone like a Tom Green, trying to do it that way, getting off a Nick Martin, players where I could see they're highly owned, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like a few weeks ago, and it's come back to bite me in the fucking ass, but getting off a Tristan Sherry to a Rowan Marshall,
and that's the opposite side.
That's the opposite side of things. 100%. So back to like that World Series of Poker, like you don't often see the pro poker players actually win that World Series of Poker. They get high, but most of the time, I think there's only one like poker pro win it.
How high? Is it good for their poker?
Great poker there. Really relaxed. But a lot of time it's the amateurs that come in, and obviously they know what they're doing, but it's just about making those calculated risks at the right time, and fantasy is a little bit that way. So you can't be going risks all the time because you're gonna fold eventually, and you're gonna run out of cash, and you're not gonna be able to make that up. But a few timely risks is you need to do it to be in the pointy end. When it comes to matchups, however, I think it is different, right? It's much easier to make those calculated risks when it's a one-on-one scenario, right? Like, for your example, in your league matchup, going the Zorko play, I do think we talked it through, and it seemed like the sensible play because you're playing defense against one person, you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Versus if you throw even just one other team coming into the mix, there's so many other variables.
100%. Yeah,
so taking that risk just is higher.
And the game's not done, but it will likely work out as the
wrong move.
The wrong move for my overall ranking.
Yes.
So my overall ranking maybe is going to improve a little bit, but it could have improved more. Let's say if Zorko doesn't meet what Treloar met, but if it does allow me to get the win. And this is the thing, people's season will be coming to exactly this point where you're looking at your overall ranking, you're thinking, wasn't my season from an overall perspective, but hey, wouldn't it be good to fucking rib me mates?
Because I think, 100%. And I would treat the season the exact same for climbing rank and versus league matchups right up until probably a week ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then you start looking
And then once you sort of decide, okay, I'm focusing on my league matchups rather than rankings, maybe a week before your finals, you start to make trades in preparation. Maybe you're cashing up or something like that. And then in your league matchups, you're watching. And first of all, little shot at the AFL app. I don't know if this was the same as last year. I mean, it definitely wasn't. Last year I felt like it was better. But this time of year, I feel like it's harder to see the changes in people's teams. Like, I was watching the players at the top there and knowing a lot of them, looking at their score, I could see their score. They brought in Adam Treloar, but I'm looking at their team and they've got the VC on Merritt and there's no Adam Treloar in their team. So I'm like, okay, well, they've traded Merritt to Treloar there, but can we fix that, by the way? Just AFL Fantasy. Can we get that being better? But yeah, watching your opponent and going, all right, what are the differences? Am I ahead? And a couple of people asked me some questions on Q, like, okay, I'm just focusing on my league, and I'm sort of thinking, just trade in the players that are going to hurt you. You know what I mean? If you feel like you're a better team, just cover off the guys that you don't have.
Yeah, look at your matchup,
Go as fewer pods as possible.
And try to anticipate what you think the other coach will do in that world as well, because there is a little bit of secrecy in what's happening there. I'm getting toey, mate. I want to chop some people. You ready?
Let's fucking chop. Let's go. Brian Myers.
Let's chop.
Out of here, boy.
It's the World Series of Poker. Let's chop, Mitch. Let's go.
Let's chop the deck. But Brian Myers.
Brian.
Two 50s in 3 weeks. Do you know how many 50-point games he had before these last 3 weeks?
Please tell me.
0. 0 games. So I traded him in. He's gone 60, 116, 52, 98, 53. That is disgusting. And
so disgusting.
It's just not good enough.
Now, especially that there's, and I know you didn't have to take this score because you got a bit Lupe fiasco, but
there are options.
Well, that's the thing. And we're going to talk about a few of them in a second, but there's like people popping their hands up for that F6, F7.
So I legitimately think that he is a potential trade out option. Before we were saying don't worry about wasting trades in your F6. But they're what's he on? 96. Okay.
Come on, Zorko.
Could he get another 20 points?
Come on, Zorks.
This has no relation to the matchup.
Nah. Well, it does, because if I could have...
You just want your decision to be justified.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I know the feeling. But yeah, like there are other players putting up much better scores in better roles.
And I could beat you, actually, this week.
Oh, could you?
I think. Well, I've got double points for...
Yeah.
But I don't have Marshall.
I've got Marshall, so settle down over there.
Hey,
Chill.
no, it's not far off.
All right. But I think there's a legitimate world where we don't have to cop this shit. You know, I know we're all used to saying, "Oh, just let your F6 and just keep looping it and things like that." But if, for example, say you've got a James Peatling, he scores a 75, and then your backup is Grind Myers. Are you comfortable going into Grind Myers? Like,
no.
I am not comfortable doing that.
But are there any F6 that you are?
I think we're going to talk about, but I don't know what he's on now. But
Pusis, what is he on now?
He's on 89. He's kicked a goal, and he's going to have Richmond and Geelong over the next 2 weeks.
Okay,
you got him. Tom Power scored another 110 plus.
And the thing about I was thinking about Tom Power because we didn't poo poo, but we definitely didn't say go Tom Power. But North Melbourne won. He turned up big. It's like at least for another week he's in that role.
If you just and that's the thing. Role is everything. He has got the easiest role in footy.
He's shown that when
half
he's in
back for North Melbourne. Like it's a scoring goldmine. So if there on any given week there could be, I mean, there was 70 points between these two. So sometimes it feels like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But the payoff in this position could be much bigger than trading out someone like a Tom Green for a Treloar. You know what I mean? Like that could either go either way. This could go either way, but it could go either way, like, huge. Do you know what I mean?
We've hijacked the chopping block with more strategy chat. Who else is getting chopped, Mitch? Chop.
Rory Laird, position change. He played defence.
Oh, in the good matchup too.
Yes. So I've been waiting. This is probably a very self-indulgent chopping thing here. Not many people, I don't think, have Rory Laird. But he's got to go. And he was my plan to trade out this week anyway because Adelaide's matchup over the next 3 weeks is tough. Yeah. Bulldogs, Port Adelaide.
You just thought maybe that Geelong matchup could be good.
Sydney. I wanted the Geelong matchup in the midfield. He started out really strong.
Yeah.
And then faded. So, but still got the ton. But don't fall in love with him if you are one of the three other people that have Rory Laird. He can go. Tim English, man.
Oh, disappointing, mate. You shouldn't have talked me into that. I should have gone Marshall that week. Yeah. I had the option.
I should have gone Sherry. It's cost me a lot of points.
I think you had Sherry at that point.
No, it was it's
a few weeks after.
Fucking domino sliding doors moment.
We just vent about our own teams.
This is the podcast. It's Sunday night. It's fresh. All right, let me vent, okay? And I know. I
could just see people just check it out of this. I don't want to listen to these fuckwits.
I know I complain a lot. I know I'm a bit whingy on Twitter. I recognise that, but I'm fucking stressed up to my eyeballs in this top 10 car chase. But
you don't have to tweet everything. You could just. I literally sit next to you most of the time. You could just turn to me and say, "Hey, Luke." Blah, 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 blah. What, you ignore me and you just start typing.
I know I'm going pretty well, and it's a bit rich for me to be, venting on Twitter, but. Fuck it, I want to do what I want. Anyway, Tim English, is it worth trading him to either Rowan Marshall or Tristan Sherry? I think most people will have the English Sherry combo, so it's an English to Marshall trade, or if you're a schmuck like me that doesn't have Sherry, is that a trade you're going to make that makes you the most amount of points?
I definitely am entertaining trading him to Marshall.
So Marshall does have a decent run, I'm pretty sure.
Well, he's about to go
fucking Richmond.
He's about to turn up against a hard matchup in Brisbane. But the thing that could make me think twice is what the Pooh Man is doing, because he's looking like a guy that might be a juicy little F7 morsel there as well. So that's going to calculate into mid-trade plans as well as the fact that Nick Martin is not impressing Coach Oxlong in the back line.
We can't have that. Yeah, I think it's hard to get that priority because, and the thing is, like Tim English, he kicked 1 goal, 2. Those 2 that he missed, one of them was an easy kick. The other one was definitely makeable too.
Well, maybe we're having a different conversation if he kicks so suddenly. It's
exactly like say he goes 110.
You're probably not trading a guy
after that. He's got Adelaide, and he's just gone against Sydney, Melbourne, 2 tougher matchups. Comes into Adelaide, who a few weeks ago Marshall put up a 150 against. I'm more okay trading English to Marshall. Fucking weird as it sounds, because Marshall's run of the next 3 is awesome. I mean, so is Sherry.
Than to Sherry. The more you tempt fate, the more Sherry will continue to burn
Sherry's got West Coast.
Bro. Where is it?
That's a good question. Let me have a look. It's at Bloodstone Arena. Is that good or bad? I don't know. Venue average 67, but it's probably as a backup.
I don't know if Bluntstone's huge.
I'll have to check that one. But it's definitely a trade that obviously this week it would have netted you 50 points. So
Yeah.
For the Sherry side, for the Marshall side, we'll wait
Go,
and see.
Zorks, go.
What's he got?
Kick,
105.
son.
All right.
Keep going.
Keep checking on that one. Let's talk about a couple of defenders. Nick Martin, Jordan Clark. Now, you look at the scores. They go 93 for Jordan Clark, 86 for
Jordan
Nick Martin.
Jordan Clark had 23 points in the first 3 minutes of play.
He started really well, didn't he?
And I text you in a huff and puff because he was the option with Hayden Young to trade out. And to be fair, Hayden Young kicked first 2 goals of the game. So I was happy with that as well. But
Nick Martin's role is worse.
Yeah.
He's a winger. And I thought there was a chance with Ridley out that he might go back to halfback. It didn't happen. He relies on goals.
Yeah.
So I think he's a higher priority trade out than Jordan Clark.
I think especially the way today panned out as well. He is one of those guys that I mentioned before that's sitting in around that 90 range that just makes it hard to know which one to trade. But that
I pulled the trigger on him.
Yeah. That 86 is that's a 66 point second half. Like that's insane and then to only be copping an 86. So I think he's in the gun for sure.
So since his buy, he's tonned up once, and that one ton he got was the 143 where he had a 66 point last quarter.
Yeah.
He hasn't gone over 97 in any other games. So I don't fear that he's going to hurt you too much by trading him out. More than likely. I mean, I've just said that, and now he's going to go 160 next game because he's going to kick 6 goals. But I don't see them moving that position around, especially with Ridley not there and he still didn't move back. So I think he's a trade. Jordan Clark, the thing that makes me nervous for him is his run.
Yeah, it's not awesome. I mean, Geelong's good for mids, but it's not so much for defenders.
For defenders.
Adelaide,
Giants are one of the hardest. Port Adelaide are better for defenders than they are for mids, but still not easy. And again, similar to someone like Nick Martin, he's not going to hurt you if you trade him out. Like, he's not putting a ceiling score on your head, I don't believe.
Yeah, I was a little worried the way somewhat the game narrative was going today with the fact that Luke Ryan actually went all right today. But I do, from memory, I think there were quite a few kickouts in there that Luke Ryan feasted on as well.
They did switch it around, especially when they started getting nervous too as well. And
so I thought that could be good for Clark. And there was a little patch there early where if it had fallen his way, he could have gone bananas.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that Nick Martin, higher priority, and then Jordan Clark can go as well.
A couple of other guys that aren't on this list here, but Tom Green, obviously I traded him out this week, gone. I was particularly worried about the Hawthorn matchup. He does have Brisbane this next week though, but I don't know if they tag him. Brisbane, there's a lot of people talking about Berry, but he doesn't really tag all that much.
That's a storm in a teacup, that one.
So I think he's someone who's a little bit down the pecking order for me now. This matchup just gone was the one that I was most worried about. Yeah. So if you've worn that, it's a little bit harder for me to justify trading him out. I've thrown this other one in here just for discussion.
Okay.
Isaac Heaney.
Oh, man.
What's going on?
Well, when I looking at my matchup with Jep and I saw Brian Myers taking on Isaac Heaney and Myers had popped to 50. Oh, my God. I was thinking, this is awesome.
So he's gone 68, 108, 78.
68's gross, but like that game was gross. So
yeah.
Are you going to expect that? You're not going to expect that the next 3 weeks from Sydney, are you? We're talking about the forward line, Michael. Is he?
There's options now.
Well, there is, but He got
outscored by Tom Powell by 50 points this round.
Are we even in a world yet where we're talking about is Isaac Heaney the guy that you try and loop? Like, how disrespectful is that based on the way he started?
When do they play, actually?
Well, he plays the first game next week. They play Collingwood on Friday night. But
are we at the point now where, it's Collingwood. It's a great matchup.
And you're going to...
At the SCG.
No, because you definitely... Peatling plays first on Saturday, so you're looping Peatling before. Surely.
Yeah, you are. You definitely are.
Peatling plays the Lions.
But could you trade in someone like a Philippou and just back him over a Heaney with a much better...
Well, Philippou plays on Sunday. So listen to this. You've got Heaney, you're not looping Heaney, but then you got Peatling first game, then you got Simpkin equal first game on Saturday against West Coast, so he's a guy that you're looping, and then Myers is the 4:30 game on Saturday. So you've got some F6 options that play early, and then you're also going to have, your St Kilda Red Dots, your Hawthorn Red Dots are going to be playing on Sunday. So
you got North Melbourne at 1:45 Saturday. With
the options to do it with Simpkin, Peatling, Myers, I don't think you're doing it with Heaney. Surely not. Collingwood's a good matchup.
Not unless you're trading like a Grind Myers to a Philippou. You've got Peatling already. You're just backing in Philippou over Heaney. You loop Heaney and then go a Peatling if Heaney sucks. This is the kind of thing. And look, I'm half talking, but I don't really believe what I'm saying because I think he's got the role. And
it's all smoke and mirrors.
But this is the kind of play, where you take that risk. Everybody has him. Yeah. Say he's shit again.
The game's an anomaly.
You get 30 points. But, he scored under 80 2 weeks ago. He's gone 3 sub-80 scores in his last 5. No scores over 110 in his last 6. Anyway,
it's not good.
It's not a conversation I thought we'd be having, but alas, we're here now. Let's talk about trade-in targets. Defenders, they've kind of remained the same for me. I think there's a clear top 5 kind of emerging in the defence. I think it's Whitfield. I think it's Sheasel. I think it's Stewart. I think it's Newman. And I think it's Sinclair. Sinclair is going to be good over the next couple of weeks. What's he on?
133.
Fuck. Okay.
You typed this up before he got to 133.
He did, yeah. And I was going to trade Clark to him if
Poussis
my
on
F7
92.
went good.
Fucking Jep's making a late charge. Ryan Marshall just needs to woo the fuck up here.
Okay. What's the difference now?
So I'm still up 40 odd with 3 to play. So, but let me see what Steele's.
Where's Dunkley?
Steele's on 94. Dunkley's on 76.
Okay,
so
good.
If that was still
5th, I dropped. Oh, I've dropped to 8th. Fuck.
Oh man.
Anyway, yeah. So in defence, I think we're pretty set. That 6th position is a mix of Dacos, Clark. What's Wang on?
88.
See, Wangani Miller might be in that mix. I don't love the run as much for mids. I'd be interested to see, obviously we're not watching this game, but if Sinclair, he's obviously going very well, if he's playing in defence or playing in the midfield.
Come on, Zorks.
But I think
Howard to 105, doing nothing. Come on, son.
Holmes also put up a shit one in this last game, 71. Rivers put up a ton. He's maybe the smoky, I think, out of all of them. Dale... he had a big score. So there's a few guys you could floor around with that F6 spot, but I don't think I'm trading Dacos, Clark to any of those guys. But the top 5, which is these 3 plus Whitfield and Sheasel, which I'm assuming most of us have now, I think are the ones you're trading in if you don't have any of those 5. All right, let's talk about midfielders. What do we got for midfielders? Midfield, it's almost the hardest to find the guys, right? Number 1 here, I've got Jack Steele. What's he on right now?
He's just turned up, so he's 102 currently.
Against Brisbane. He goes then into Richmond and Geelong, and that's basically the reason why I've got Steele at number 1 here.
Yeah.
He's been good. He's been very consistent.
He has of recent times.
So trading out someone with a poor run to a Steele with a good run, I think could definitely be a play, definitely affordable. Treloar I've got number 2 after the good matchup this round. He goes up against Adelaide, North and Giants, so definitely not a bad run, but just, I guess, okay in that part. And I've got Zach Butters here. You could also throw in Connor Rosie. Some people were trading him out last week, but their run opens up now. Melbourne this week coming up. I believe, who they got after that? Yeah, Adelaide and Freo. 2 teams that haven't been tagging.
Yeah.
I think Adelaide have been tagging sometimes with their rookie, but going up against Zach Butters, good luck.
Showdown. Showdown? Yeah.
Yeah, showdown.
Showdown. Butters will show
He'll be up for that. He'll be showing up for the showdown.
Nice.
Yeah, this might be a time where you solid your pride and trade him back in if you trade him out. 120. It's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on Butters versus Rosie? Do you have a preference for one of the 2?
I still like Butters. But there's definitely something to be said for either one of them going off on their day. Hey, I'm actually just really happy for my team that I never did shift on them after I bought Rosie in after the couple of weeks of poor scoring because they've actually been really, really good for the Oxlongs.
Yep. Cool. And then let's go to the forward line because there is a bit of movement here, and I think
here we go. Let's spend
we
some
can
time
start
here.
to trade some of these players in.
Oh my!
Number 1, Luke.
No,
Tom fucking Powell.
A week's a long time in fantasy.
It is a long time in fantasy, but this man, back-to-back weeks,
Zorko, do something.
He's done it. He's
What is the Zork doing? He tempts me, and then he just sits on a shit on fucking...
Look, I'm happy with my decision now. So
there's still 44 seconds. Zorko could have 20 points in it.
Junk it up there. 122, 116 in his last 2 games for Tom Powell. Now, it was Richmond. They won that game. Geelong, although Geelong, like we said, is tougher for defenders. He goes up against the Eagles, the Dogs, and the Hawks, which are all, I think, neutral to slightly positive matchups.
Yeah.
It's just the role, man. Like... We're crying out for good role forward players.
And it's now solidified with a win there on the weekend as well, at least in my mind for a week.
Yeah, I don't think Fisher's taken him out of the team. If he's taken anyone out, it's Stephenson. And even he scored 99. He's been not the best in terms of like a footy product.
Yeah. Like I said, week's a long time in fantasy because on Monday we weren't talking about...
Yeah, I would much rather Tom Powell than a Brian Myers than Mason Wood.
You take him over the Pooh? The Pooh's on 96 and the Pooh goes into that decent run.
If you've got the Tom Powell, can't trade a player back in that I traded out, Philippu's the next best guy. I think they're a bit of a coin flip. And it might depend if there's another, Fisher comes back in for
There's going to be a bit of a price difference too.
Yeah, much cheaper for Philippu, who might sneak over the 500k mark. But
that might make a decision for you, hey?
But Philippu, what's he on, 90?
Yeah, 96.
In a thumping from the Lions. Indeed. Coming up against Richmond and Geelong.
It's a proper thumping now too. How is Ron Marshall?
He looks good, man. He looks really good. Again, we're doing this a bit blind without the CBA data and stuff like that. But I saw him kick a goal, and I think he's been around the ball.
Jepper should be getting me here, eh? Rowan Marshall's gone bonkers.
We've lost Luke in the podcast.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. It's high stakes stuff. Let me check my ranking and my.
If that is the case that he's moved Steele to Dunkley, I mean Jepper's probably just having a nice dinner with his family or something. He doesn't care about. He doesn't care about this.
Sweating on this. Jep, you got him by 29 at the moment.
You're living rent free in my head, Jep.
He's got you by 29 at this stage, I think.
I've got him.
You've got him by 29?
Yeah. I think I'll get over the line there. But
okay. Oh, lost him. Is it official? What are we at?
It's done.
Hey!
Zork's just stalled on 105.
Finalists. What are we? Prelim finals coming up. Let's go.
Don't go early, mate. There could be a countback. Could be a 30-point countback.
I've got Roy as well. So, yeah, we're both through. I don't think we're versing each other.
No, it wouldn't work that way.
I'd be versing Bales. You'd be versing the Warn Dogs.
Take on the Warn Dogs. Big matchups. We're about to jump on and have a chat with Bales soon, so that'll be good.
Let's maybe wrap this one up. Number 3, I've got James Peatling.
Yep.
I'm concerned about Peatling and the troops coming back.
Yeah.
So he'd be third out of those guys, although, mate, dude tackles.
He does tackle, doesn't he?
Tackles big time.
Yeah.
And he was equal highest midfielder for CBAs with Tom Green. So
that score for him could have been even bigger, I think, just based on the way he started. And then I think it almost looked like once GWS got on top, then his tackling was less required, I think, because they got their ball movement going. So
yep. So I think those are the trade-in targets. I do feel pretty confident with those 3. If you had a combination of 2 of those 3 players as you're rotating F6, F5, F6, I might even prefer some of those guys than Dylan Moore in terms of just their roles. Their roles are a lot better. So
the forward line's been crazy this year, honestly.
It has been crazy. But we're going to move with the times. Moving with the times. So those are the trade targets. The ruck line, you're obviously looking for Marshall and Cherry. They're the top 2.
Marshall's just gone 130, I think.
Look for those guys.
Bang, 130.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty cut and dry now. The midfielders are the hardest, I think, to pick. So maybe avoid trading players unless they've got a seriously bad run with someone like a Rory Laird and they've had a role change. I'm not a huge fan of trading your players there. But then again, this is someone who just traded Tom Green, so you could look to something fun about that. But it's hard to pick the guys who are just consistently week in, week out getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might do it for us, mate.
What'd your rank end up at before we go?
Okay, let's have a look. I'll just give a quick last little refresh. Rank number 7.
Okay.
2470 was the final score. Which, look, considering again, I got another 150 drops on my head by Tristan Sherry. Look, it's better than I thought it was going to be after that game. I really thought I was going to drop off, but a few other of those Sunday things went well. So I've dropped one spot. In terms of the number 1 player, I don't think I've caught up too much ground at all there. Caught up 14 points to number 1. So
he might let you go for a ride in his Hilux, maybe in the tray, covered by the tarp or something.
Maybe. But yeah, still tight at the top there. Look, I think the Hilux is probably 160 points away in 3 weeks. It's going to take some very, very big luck my way. So see if I can consolidate that top 10, maybe a top 5 finish, and we'll see how we go. But first order of business is taking care of this Content Creators Cup, which 2 rounds to go. Coming for you, Bales, literally right now. Going on to your podcast, but also in the Content Creators Cup, we've got you next week. So we'll see if we can both meet each other in the finals, hey?
That'd be pretty cool.
If you have any questions, guys, between now and Friday, where we are going live, head over to askmeonq.com/ballboys. Get your questions answered in there. We will be live on Friday at a normal time of 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we can also go through your questions there. 3 rounds to go, guys. Let's make it the best 3 rounds of the season, and we'll see you guys then. Bye!